Hi, good day everyone. Actually, we will start our webinar straight away in few minutes because we are having people from China, from Australia, from United Kingdom, from United Arab of Emirates. So we do have different time zone. So best start to start is to have a good day. So, good day everyone. We are going to start our webinar in a few minutes. I have to welcome everyone from different time zone around the world. We do have people attending from China, from United Arab of Emirates, from Australia, from United Kingdom. So I have the pleasure to have many top executive in different industry sectors. We are going to start now. Before we start, I'm going to introduce myself for some people who didn't know me. I have some of the attendees know me already and have been working with or I have the pleasure to teach them across MBA units. So welcome everyone. I'm Dr. Hisham Bakr. I have more than 30 years of working industry and academia, including some of the leading organization and practical executive solutions. So I'm not purely only academic. I have my teaching techniques to practice, to link and integrate both practical long experience of executive managerial levels and academic innovations. I have in practice around 10 publications in different sectors. Major disciplines I have in project management, in governance complexity, in financial innovation. I do have top 2 quartile 1 publications on my academic funnel that will be published very soon. One, it will be on Financial Innovation Journal. It's a quota 1 journal, and the other one will be in the Higher Education Journal, which is also quartile 1 journal. So before we start, I need everyone just to reflect about his or her own experience. Did you find something in your project? Because our main scoop today will be why mega project fail and why strategic alliances fail. So just reflect into your brain if you faced a personal scenario in your own organization or just an incident that been shared with any of your colleagues, that you have a project, everything is going perfectly aligned, the strategic plan was very good, and suddenly you find problems happening, but unfortunately the team or yourself detected very late that there is a problem. So let's move further to clarify what's happening exactly in most scenario. Before we go deeper, let me quickly walk through what we are going to have today. So we are going to have around 1 hour, a bit less, a bit more. We will split into nearly 2 halves, about 30 to 40 minutes the webinar I'm going to consider, and we will have around 20 or 30 minutes if the attendees will have any interactions and clarifications about any topics. So I'll be more than happy to answer your queries. At any stage, please share your feedback in the chat, drop your comments, and feel free to contact me personally through my website so I can reply and take further consideration of any personal query. First part, we are going to talk why the project and strategic alliances fail. So it won't be an academic lecture. So we are not, even the participants, the attendees, are most of my attendees, nearly more than 95% top executive level founders, CEO, and directors working in multinational organization. Even though some of them were my MBA students in different universities in Australia and United Kingdom with the University of East London. So it makes me great pleasure to interact with such a level of senior executive level. So this part of the webinar, it is much more executive practical solutions and advisory orientation to many of my attendees that I'm going to align directly during the webinar. The second part, I believe this is a core real issues. Most of the executive will understand this very well. The problem is not the strategy itself. It is much more leadership, leading under complexity. So everyone has a strategy perfectly. However, executing the strategy is a critical and crucial problem or issue. More precisely, leading under complexity, sometimes misaligning, misinterpreting, misunderstanding of the difference between leader and manager is a core problem and issues in most of the scenario. And in our third part, we are going to focus much more on the leadership and how you can align my new developed model. I developed actually in one of my publications a new development model for leadership complexity to lead under complexity scenario. I'm not going to praise leadership who are navigating or are managing under standard and normal situations. However, I'm going to enhance the leadership techniques for many of us, how to lead under complexity, how to be strategic thinking and predicting what's going to happen before it happens. Also, one in the future funnel I'm going to discuss later during this webinar and invite who will be interesting to collaborate with us, that we are developing software about governance intelligence system or software. It will be launched very soon, and I already discussed some of the primary discussions with some of my existing clients who are seeking consultancy, etc. However, still finalizing the IP rights and before launching officially very soon. However, you will have something related to the sense-making techniques or digital adaptation. You will have to align your scope of your project by the help of softwares and AI integrations without following blindly the artificial intelligence revolution. I will talk maybe a bit further, a bit more, but not very in details for sure. However, I'm going to give you a hint about what's going on with that. So, in the first part, I'm going to talk about much more something called the illusion of the strategy success. Why I'm calling the illusion of strategy success? So every one of us from the executive board has a strategy, is very proud. I have an excellent strategy. Some of them in governmental organization and non-profit organization have a strategy that can have 15, 20 years length. So is that enough that you will have your strategic planning and you will have everything on scope? No, it's not enough. It's very important and critical and crucial not to overestimate your success. Don't never overestimate your success, and don't do ever estimate your success, because you will have something called the illusion of strategy success. What else need to be actually? So strategy is clearly defined, governance structure are in place, and leadership are very well oriented, but we do have some critical line between the traditional leadership technique, who is focusing on much more aligning operation, implementing the strategy, are perfect managers actually, in fact. However, are they all leaders? This is a key problem. Are they all capable to lead under complexity and to be adaptive in their strategy, to understand the real scenario and to predict, have some kind of adaptive cycles that I'm going to share for leadership in 4 different parts, between design, interpret first, and then proceed to the next. And it's a whole cycle. It's not only a linear relationship between each phase. However, it's a cycle that I'm going to talk very soon. So rarely the strategy or strategic failure comes from lack of strategy. It comes from misinterpreting or leading under complexity. It depends on the leadership style, technicality, and it differs also about how they can adapt to lead under complexity. So this is the first part. Moving further here, I'm going to talk much more about misalignment. If you are having most of the critical parts of the strategy actually fails in practice because of 3 different major reasons: misalignment, misinterpretation, and missing visibility. So rarely comes from the lack of strategy, as I was saying, and most probably the big portion, more than 90%, comes from lack of knowledge for leading under complexity. How we can transform our leadership style and say, as many leaders are saying, I'm a democratic leader, I have a very good style of leadership style, etc. It's not a matter to be, there is no single type of leadership is the best. Leadership style is adaptive as per the situation. For example, if during COVID you are a democratic leader, yeah, it's very good, perfect. How it will help you to navigate complexity? I'm calling this navigate complexity because it's like a big wave in the ocean coming in the middle of the ocean. No one can see over the beach. And if you don't have technology and awareness to detect and predict the warnings enough time before, you can have a storm, you can have a natural disaster. So how to navigate complexity into your project, it's very critical, very important. How to oversee or to predict some unforeseen circumstances that can happen that no one can see except you and some of the other colleagues in the board of directors. So strategic thinking is very important criteria of any leader. So a combination between democratic leader, transformational leader, adaptive leader are very important, because we are in AI revolution. I'm not going to depend blindly on theoretical contribution, although I have a PhD from Australia, from the University of Southern Queensland. I have an MBA from Marymount, California University, United States, and I'm teaching in 2 Australian universities, and I'm teaching also on a casual time with the University of East London in UK. However, the practical experience that exceeds 30 plus years is a key point, how to integrate my knowledge and academic traits and criteria I have with the practical solutions I have been faced in multinational organizations. And lastly, I was a chief executive officer or CEO of one of the international destination management in the Gulf, Middle East and North Africa. So practical solution and practical problems, gaps that I have been identified with senior executive managers and directors, and how I can overcome these barriers in a professional real-time solutions. This is a key problem. This is a key points that you can all have, and you will be very interesting to share your experience, and that I will share my knowledge as well with everyone. So purely misalignment, most of the common factors in all the interpretations I have, misalignment, misinterpretation, and missing visibility. How can we discuss further missing visibility actually, because it is something that say a bit vague. So missing visibility, let's say you are having small problems that happening in front of you. It's very clear. Every one of us is ignoring the small issues. So it's a missing visibility. I can see the issue in front of me, but my reply, my automatic and default reply is say, no, it's a small chunk. So ignore it. No problem. But by ignoring accumulated missing small problems, it becomes a critical pathway to a big crisis, not issue. And that's what's happening in practice in real scenarios that I'm going to share in later slides with Airbus and Boeing projects, between the conflicts between different countries, most probably initially France and Germany, because of miscommunication. Everyone would like to lead the projects and the gap, and more precisely in one of the Australian very famous mega projects, which is a Queensland payroll health, that have been a learning and teaching material. We are teaching in MBA program and supervising as well in PhD research. It's one of the major and critical components of one of my publications about mega projects failure. I have been published, so it's available to access for free download as well. So it is one of the critical problems. So this project of Queensland health payroll or payroll health has been started with 6 million Australian dollars. Actually more than 10 years or 12 years, and the project has been accomplished with 1.2 billion. You can imagine 200 times the budget, the capital budget. So does it mean a governance performance failure from the Queensland government? Lots of interpretation from the auditors, including the Queensland government reports. So many of the people who are accountable of that disaster was throwing away the responsibility and accountability on IBM, because it was a contractor for this project. So mega project, how can I stay for 12 years or minimum 10 years without interpreting and having a vision about this project is going to be booming in budget and or it will be burning Australian citizens with taxes to collect this money. I did cover as well Melbourne underground project for Metro, and still we are wishing to read the details I have been shared in my latest publication. So these are the common parts of lack of failing. You have an excellent strategy. The project itself is to cover more than 80,000 employees working in the getting their payroll from the Queensland government. It is something fantastic to have a system to get the pay on time, etc. However, is that helpful to stay more than 10 years and booming the budget that I have been allocated from the federal approval to proceed with 200 times? So lots of question mark here need to revision, and it's a case study to learn and teach in many universities around the world. So there is a big difference between the traditional and strategic leadership. Traditional, much more are all focusing on managing the work, moving, operating. There are some of the traditional leaders, most of the, we call it in a different way, old management school. They are managing very well. There are rules and disciplines, we call it. However, where is your strategic thinking? Where is your prediction? Where is your communication skills? Where is your sense making for the human needs working? You are not working with robots, you are working with human people. All these kind of combinations and integration makes you a strategic leader, navigating the complexity. Identify when exactly you can be very strict to lead your groups and subordinates and work with your colleagues and board of directors, reporting to the governance body, if any mega project, and reporting to the external stakeholders, including government association if you are working on a big mega project, governmental one. All this, it is very critical to align all this, because you will never have everyone aligned. You need to align stakeholders' needs accordingly, and sometimes becomes the issue, becomes the critical need to use a help of an automation system to align our thoughts. And I will share with you how I'm planning to do that. So most probably aligning, interpreting aligning, and having some of the linear, interpreting aligning and having quick decision about how to execute is most important for part of my leadership model about to drive execution. So again, the problems in many projects are not the strategy. Most of the strategy are more than perfect. However, the problem is, or the problems are, how can you interpret, understand the reality, how you can align what you see, how you can align people, priority, decisions, stakeholders' needs. Like I was sharing in one of the projects for Airbus and Boeing, conflicts between French and German people because of cultural conflicts. Everyone would like to lead the international project. Everyone is very proud to their own language. There wasn't or weren't a unified board of governance or governance body to align miscommunication and misinterpretation between different stakeholders. And that's why It is very critical in mega projects to have this concept to align common dashboard. Even sometimes people are much more comfort to work with automation. However, we need to differentiate very soon to let you understand we cannot follow blindly the automation. We cannot follow blindly the artificial intelligence tools like ChatGPT, Cloud, Gemini, and other tools that I don't know. So you cannot, because these are all machines. If we are feeding these machines inappropriately, so we will have a catastrophic results. They are saving us tons of time. Yes, I agree with everyone. However, you need to integrate, to feed this automation properly to have a good result, to align your strategy with non-human capacity of speed to gather and collect and analyze data. However, you must be the leader of the automation process and not the opposite. You are not depending blindly on the automation to get your result. However, you will be the leader who is leading the automation process exactly to get you accomplish what you need in the shortest time. And how to can execute? Before deciding the results of automation, more precisely in my governance intelligence system we are developing, we are sharing in a common dashboard like the sensemaking used in mega projects. So the common dashboard is very helpful to junior managers, middle managers, and even also for executive directors. Because sometimes we can misinterpret people report, and we can have a misalignment with people report because we do have some culture barriers. In mega projects, we do have people working from everywhere in the world. Let's take me an example. I'm speaking 3 languages. I'm not a native English speaker or English speaking. However, the understanding will differ from someone who is from United Kingdom or United States, different accent, different dialect. However, they understand very well the English because this is their native English, or Australia. People who are multilingual, like one of my research I have been also done, I was focusing on the code switching techniques to teach people, especially overseas students from multinational overseas countries, because they can't understand purely in English only. I must adapt with their English. Let's take me an example. If someone is Indian, so I have to share, if I'm Indian and I can speak Indian, so I can share with some of the Indian students in their native language to understand much better what they need. Otherwise, they will have language barriers, they will have misunderstanding on the message. So communication, especially while you are using the netiquette, the protocol of typing emails, sending reports digitally, etc., or common dashboards, not everyone is going to understand the same process and understanding clearly similar to other stakeholders. So this is the sense-making integration we are going to develop to extract all different reports from different countries, especially for the mega projects, and make only one funnel, one tube of information available instantly to everyone in different locations around the world. They can drop their feedbacks. They can use integration of suggestions and proposal, etc. However, they cannot change the process itself because the process is automated and integrated. However, in some stages, it must be aligned by the people who are concerned. I remember during sometimes in Melbourne, Victoria, Australia, I was talking. I have a chat with one of the general manager of one of the international companies in Melbourne. was saying I have an excellent CRM. I will not be promoting for the CRM name. However, I was asking what's the problem. I have very excellent directors that are not able to use the CRM. I paid tons of money properly. So I laughed. I gave a simple smile and I was sharing. So this is the common problem. Even I was reflecting during 4 years of study during my PhD research in Australia, and I was adapting my research more precisely. I was using some resilience factors for leadership techniques, so I have a plan B and C. And I was planning to have face-to-face interview with travel and multinational association working in the travel and hospitality. And once I was locked down for more than 2 years, after a few days I was stepping in. I found it is impossible to resist my initial, to adapt my research. Otherwise I will never be able to get my PhD. So I waited few months just to be reasonable and realistic. And once the situation is going worse and worse, I have a meeting with my 4 supervisors. I have 4 supervisors during the initial stage. And lastly, I have only 2 in the last year of sending my thesis and submissions. By coincidence, I accomplished my PhD in 3 years instead of 4. It was expecting to finish in 4 years. I finished in 3 years because I have been predicting the disaster we are living. However, but I have seen a green positive indicators or indicator in this disaster. Why not moving to online teaching and online study? And it will be the future for every learning organization. In that time, I was teaching Aboriginal students in the College of Indigenous Study in Queensland, at the University of Southern Queensland. So I have many Aboriginal students dropped their courses and units because of COVID. They do have a panic. They don't like to study online. They are resisting dramatically and very hardly. It was very hard time to adapt. However, at the same time, people in Netherlands are forecasting the benefits of future online business to reach rural area in different third world countries, deliver quality of education and aggregated by strong universities in United Kingdom, US and Australia. Why not having the equal opportunity for everyone around the world to learn quality of education? Not everyone has a capacity and ability to pay too much money to have an Australian visa to come and stay and affording the burning of living expenses for years. The hurdle to find an equal job opportunity, similar to UK, US, etc. Everywhere it's very costly for many people. So if you do have some kind of learning online with a quality of education with someone who is aggregated by a higher qualification level and working with partnership with universities, so this is a future of education to have an ethical role and responsibility integrated with the corporate social responsibility integration. So decision making under complexity actually, so they are not working with a perfect data. We will never have perfect data all the time. They are working much more with judgments. They are not working with a perfect data. No one of us has a perfect data all the time. No one of us has a clean pathway to succeed. You need to clarify or to clear your pathway to succeed. You need to afford some kind of complexity on communication in bullying, sometimes I do have very impressed research that I received from one of my MBA students. I'm still thinking until today to have a common publication. It was talking about bullying in organization and what impact about the hiring process. It's an amazing process. It's an amazing topic. Unfortunately, I didn't have enough time to communicate further to proceed for that, but it is in my radar, and I will finalize one way, because the way we can frame the impact on mental health of our employees and the hiring process, it is a cost in any project. How to select your people and how you can provide a healthy, positive environment to work and progress. It's not depending on pure data, because you cannot have this data clear to you. However, it depends on your judgment. Leaders are deciding with the judgment, predictions, interpretation, alignment, and a very resilient communication, respect in the core heart of everything, so you can have your decision properly. So, as I was saying about the stakeholders misalignment, so alignment, it's not assumed, but you must align. Many stakeholders are coming from different points around the world. They will have conflicts, culture, ethics, beliefs, gender variety, diversity, disability people, and etc. So it is a stakeholder alignment you must have. The failure comes from the stakeholder misalignment. You are not putting the respect. And respect is not, it's not just a word, it's a practice. Don't say I'm respecting everyone. Show people that you are respecting them. If you respect people, people will communicate properly with you. People will respect you, because you must start. The pro-action is from the leader side. So conflicts in incentives, like everyone from different mega projects, countries, they are looking for their benefits, the GDP of their countries. So they will have financial and incentive conflicts. Hidden tension. They are shaping the execution process. So the problem is not agreement, it is a continuous negotiation about misalignment, conflicts, and the hidden intention to align and decide properly where to go and align your scope. Watch and predict the small issues that no one can see, and predict if I don't solve these issues, so it will be a problem for me, and it will be a big issue. So the early signals are the very important that I'm going to focus in this webinar, that we will finish in few minutes. Early signals most probably are an invisible failure. So you can have some invisible failure, like small young student is not studying at all. So it's a small early signals that these students will fail. Don't depend that the student is smart or not. If you are not studying, you will fail. You have to consider a minimum study time, study load. That's why I'm integrating in my teaching in all universities an early report, students at risk report. People who are not attending, people who are not participating. It's not a major problem for me to attend or not. It's a problem for me to communicate. If people are not attending, but they are communicating by email, providing a valid reason, so it's normal. We are all human. We have a personal needs. However, if you are not communicating at all, You are receiving emails from the academic board and teaching committee, and you are not responding, you are not replying, you are not attending, you are not submitting your submission. So it's a student at risk. These students will fail. When I'm sending this report, if I have a block, for example, for 4 weeks, some of the universities I'm teaching, we do have teaching blocks, 4 weeks teaching, 8 condensed lectures, 4 hours each one, and workshops. I'm sending the first week, the early after the second lecture in the first week. In the 25%, it's an early signal to everyone, be cautious, you are going to fail. We don't like you to fail, we are helping, supporting you to succeed. So it is the same. You need to align everyone participation in your projects to have an early signals to detect. Don't say, no, it's normal, this person has personal needs. But you need to signal, to alert those people early, to align their performance. And sometimes it is small issues, predictions, drop in sales, drop in performance, some technical problems. Oh, no, it's normal, we are going to overcome. But if it is repeated, these small signals, so be very precautious that it's going to be escalated on the long term, and this will create most probably the big portion and big percentage the mega projects failure. Sometimes in the mega projects, without specifying a specific project, it is a government corruption. It is an organization corruption. It's not all the time lack of performance or knowledge. It is linked also to some of the destinations and project-specific projects that I'm a bit concerned to share publicly. It is linked with a corruption in the implementation. So they are ignoring the knowledge they have. They are ignoring a good performance because they are corrupted. So this is an informal and indirect also reason you need to consider as a leader. You need to expect, predict. Do not throw or blame accusations on people or organizations blindly. However, just self-reflect and expect, predict, accumulate some knowledge and information, how you can communicate effectively with those organizations. Sometimes you will not have the solutions to provide. However, you need to communicate effectively and overcome this barrier without giving the chance to be corrupted and make an informal stress on those people to proceed effectively to let your project succeed. Stability, stability execution as well. As I was sharing with my PhD journey, so stability, it is never achieved through a good manager. It is achieved most probably through adaptation and control. Sorry, and resilience. Adaptation and resilience. You can have adaptation of the situation. Once I was adapting through, because I came to Australia before the COVID, few weeks, and once I get my first casual tutoring job at the University of Southern Queensland, teaching Aboriginal students, for me it was a very positive, good start. Everything has been changed dramatically because lockdown has been changing the vision to everyone in the world. However, I was very resilient, flexible, adaptive. I have a plan. Let's spare few months not to spend more money and costs. Many students have been returned to their home country, left Australia. I didn't. I spent millions of my money to get my PhD because I have a vision. I had my vision that I will proceed to plan B in a certain time to achieve my PhD. And once I was proceeding to plan B, In the specific time I was discussing previously, few months before we shifted to a new direction, I got approval from every one of my supervisors who supported me very well during my hard journey, during this hard time. And it was very hard, not only for me, for everyone who was achieving their academic and professional journey during COVID. It was very hard for everyone. So adaptability makes you stable. It makes stabilizing execution. You must be adapted. Don't panic. Any crisis, it's an excellent opportunity to divert to excellent opportunity. So you will not look at the bad sides. I'm teaching in customer relationship management also people, both professionally and academically, in academia. Every angry customer is an excellent opportunity to convert not only a satisfied customer to a loyal and promoter customer. It is a key point how to say no nicely to this customer, how to stop this angry customer in a nice way and not escalate the anger of those people, how to avoid to show, sorry to say, sometimes I'm looking and saying some situation, it looks very silly behavior to deal with angry customer. Some people are defending. You cannot defend in this situation. If someone is angry, let him or her through what they have and then deal with this anger in a professional mood to confirm and acknowledge the problem and then reflect, make a transition in a certain time to say no nicely. Objections will escalate the anger. However, you must say no nicely in a certain time in your conversation, and it's very hard for many people who are executive to do that. So it needs lots of workshops, techniques, and we are having live demonstration and demo for people who are attending in these workshops, how to deal even in call center in a certain way. So next one, we are going to finish very soon, and allow me just to have just a couple of minutes. So we are going to continue our last couple of slides. We don't have that much. So integrated leadership view, as I was sharing earlier, it's not a linear or sequence process. And also, we are not considering leaders to manage the systems. We need leaders to govern the complexity happening in their own systems. So misunderstanding for what is a system, what is a CRM. In my example, for CRM, I was saying to the GM I was meeting in Melbourne, so people are dealing with CRM as robots. However, you need to integrate the data, you need to align the CRM as per your organization objectives, and you need to break down every issues that happen in the connections of every process, if you do have any breakdowns. So failure is going to be emerging. You need to look at the breakdown in every connection during the process. More precisely, in this view, you can see how leaders must navigate complexity. Complexity is increasing all the time, so we are not going to wait for complexity. It is happening. We need or we don't need, it's going to happen. So we need to shift from the traditional leadership models or old management school, because they are no longer efficient to process and to avoid mega projects failure. And we need to execute in the way we need to be different, much more interpret, align, decide, and interpret again. The cycle is continuous. Leaders must evolve in a continuous cycle to interpret, to make the sense making, and the software development we are going to have is going to help many leaders, many people who are working in projects, how to manage complexity, how to lead or to govern complexity. Because it's not simple software, it's a governance intelligence system, more complex in integration, and it will be very supportive, because we are not just building this on a technical criteria, we are building this on a practical 30+ years of practical executive experience. We need to avoid this. Like any campaigns I had with Google Ads, for example, and people who are expert in Google company to have analytics. I was sharing my expectations. We need to do this and this and this and this to avoid such issues. And then people who are technical will start to work on this technicality and achieve what we need to do. So by this software, it's going to be adaptive. It's going to use real-time sense-making traits and criteria built in. It's going to be integrated with human reports. So we are going to take the positive side of AI revolution, or the FIR, Fourth Industrial Revolution. We are forced everyone to participate. We don't have any choice now. People who will be out will be excluded from the revolution, unfortunately. However, we need to use the good side of digital revolution to integrate in our business and proceed, and still keep the human value of everyone who is participating as a standard we all wish. So thanks for everyone. So here is the end of our webinar. For anyone who would like to drop or to have a chat, live chat for any side of their own experience or they wish, we were preparing this webinar actually to share our consultancy in different sectors. We are starting in Bakr Business Academy. We are having online courses for some of the executive courses because we are teaching around the world. We do have academic staff from sorry, from Australia, from United Kingdom, from China, and from Middle East and North Africa, including Morocco as well. So we do have people that can understand code switching techniques to learn for both executive people in some destinations and providing the core value of live workshops and webinars in executive courses. We will have some consultancies that already existing in our funnel and channels, and we are improving and proceeding further. And also we will have very good news that we will launch very soon with academic partnership with accredited universities that will connect and enter an agreement execution very shortly. So anyone who would like to share any question or to have any question about any topic or share any personal experience, so I'm very happy to have. So that's very good. So we are getting, so we have our contact details. If you please can contact if you do have further confidential discussions. Some people send on our private emails. So I'll be more than welcome. Thank you so much for everyone who attended and participated. And I wish you a lovely end of day as per your time zone. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.